So I am just on the BJJ Fanatics website, and what's amazing is now we've already talked about gravity is your friend, but there are 2 other instructionals that you might want to talk about.
Recently, I had the opportunity to work with BJJ Fanatics guy, and now we have 3 instructionals out there. We have escapes engineered for guys over 40. If you're 40 or more, hey, dig into it. Gravity is your friend. Sit-up sweeps. Been there for some time, and is really, really getting a lot of attention. And then we have the smash the knee folding pass. Now, that's one of my favorites. So if you haven't looked at them, take a look. BJJfanatics.com.
Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we're live.
Yep, here we go.
All right. Well,
So what?
so what? You know, when you were gone,
Yeah.
it was just like, smooth riding. Nobody was talking back to me. Nobody was making fun of me. There was no
I bet it was really
sarcastic
boring.
comments. It was
That
smooth.
your life was very
It's smooth.
boring that
Like,
week I was out.
I didn't record video, and
Yeah.
the sound was messed up, and but it was smooth. Like,
Sure, if that's your definition of smooth. But you need somebody to keep you on your toes.
Yeah. Well, apparently so.
Yeah. But anyway, we did one together again. Finally,
So-
an actual episode.
Yeah, so we chatted right before we start recording, right? And the phrase was work smarter than harder, right? So what's your definition of your definition of difference between those two? How do you define harder versus smarter?
Well, I think it's funny because the first time I ever heard that phrase, I was an EMT in the housing projects in the city, and my supervisor, I don't remember exactly what we were doing, what the call was or anything like that, but he was like, yeah, you got to work smarter, not harder. And for that particular job, we had a giant bag and a stair chair that we would have to carry, and the elevators never worked in the housing projects. So you would have to run up 11 flights of stairs to get to somebody who was having a medical emergency or a traumatic emergency. And that was the first time I ever heard it. And it had, I was finally ready to receive something like that, but it kind of had a big impact. And what it meant for me was always like, kind of planning things out logically, rather than just like kind of barreling into it or, pushing forward, so that you could take steps to make it easier for yourself, basically. And it doesn't mean like easier, like you're not working hard, but you don't have all this unnecessary stuff to work through while you're working. So
Yeah, I feel like sometimes people use this phrase as slide right under the radar and kind of, do the minimum that's expected, but don't go above and beyond. Is that how you look at it?
No, I think if that's how you look at it, that's a different interpretation that I don't have. So it's working smarter. We were talking to Heather towards the end of the episode. She was talking about somebody that she trained with who wanted to lose some weight, who was training a lot, who was going to eat a protein bar and a salad. That's it for the day. That's not, and you're training hard, if you're training hard, you're going to lose weight, right? An extremely restrictive diet like that with super low calorie intake, you're probably going to burn out while you're losing that weight, or you're physically, you're not going to be feeling well. So then what? I'm not eating right, or do I need to train less, or it just, that's not smarter to me. Smarter to me would be sitting down with somebody and saying, hey, this is what I do every day, and this is how much I want to train every day. The weight that I want to lose isn't coming off. How do I do this correctly? Because I think when you start doing things incorrectly, well, guess what? You're not working smart. You're working hard. It's going to be hard for that person. They might lose that weight right away, but they're going to have to start eating again. When they start eating again, they're going to put that weight back on. Why is he losing the weight? Because he's doing things properly, or because he's just shedding it because he's not eating? He's not going to feel good. He's probably going to go back to his old habits. So for me, it's like, no, it's sitting down, being calculated, gathering information, in order to proceed in the way you want to. If you want to, I don't know, I'm stuck on the diet thing, but if you want to eat garbage all day, well, then you're going to have to really intensify your training, right? And you're going to get hurt or you're going to burn out. If you want to lose weight and you eat correctly, you don't have to, train an insane amount. That doesn't mean you're not going above and beyond. You can still go above and beyond and train hard and progress and learn, but you're going to recover so that you can go on the next day. You know what I mean? Where if you're eating properly,
you are stuck on the food.
Yeah, but if you're eating properly, you can train hard, a little harder than you usually do. You're going to have the fuel. You're going to recover. All those things that go with it.
But I thought we said we're not going to train hard.
No, we didn't say that.
But it was harder versus smarter, right?
Yeah, right.
So if you are smart, wouldn't that mean
is training hard all the time? I forget, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about balls to the wall.
Yeah.
But is that smart?
I'm trying to identify what does smart mean, right? Because I think we both agreeing with the fact that training smart doesn't mean that you're not training hard. Right. So what does the smart part give us?
I think it gives you a pathway
if we're gonna
to do it to be long-term successful with it. Right. So if you're like this person that's eating 500 calories a day,
get off the topic of
but
food.
How are you gonna? Oh, are you hungry? if you're gonna be that person.
Okay, so let's talk about jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's talk about jiu-jitsu. Let's pivot this into jiu-jitsu. Okay, I'm working on whatever concept in jiu-jitsu. How can I work smarter versus harder?
Asking questions from people who do it or know it or are higher level than you, watching videos about it, rather than just going to open mat and trying to do it in a live training, in a sparring session, right?
So you're saying don't reinvent the wheel.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, just go gain knowledge, right? Smarter in order to be able to perform better. If you're not inquisitive and you're not trying to learn, that mat time, how many people have you seen burn out because they think the way to get better at jiu-jitsu is to go to every class, every open mat, go every round, and they're going forward, pushing, and then either they get hurt or they start with the, I gotta, work is this or that, or my wife is this and that, or, and they start coming up with excuses to not be here because they're physically working so hard that they burn out.
So you're talking about the physical hard work. What about mental hard work? Because planning and seeking out and asking questions, all that has an impact on the mental part of jiu-jitsu.
And I think that's smarter. That's being smart.
You don't think that one can get burned out mentally?
Yeah, but it's probably easier to get burnt out physically.
I don't know. That I don't know.
Well, it depends on what you mean mentally, though. Are you talking about like flooded with information and you get burnt out, or are you talking about like you're not really being smarter, so mentally you start falling apart? Like, this sucks, I suck, I'm in a plateau, what am I doing wrong? All those negative thoughts.
There's, I guess, two different sides of that.
Right.
Yeah. So what have you applied in your jiu-jitsu to provide the quote-unquote smart element?
For me, letting go of my ego. I'm not a kid. I'm not going to go with these 25, 30-year-old ex-wrestlers the way that the 30-year-old or 25-year-old wrestler next to them goes with them. It's not going to work. I'm going to be working, if I try that, it's going to be really, really hard physically, and I won't be back tomorrow. So I have to be smarter about it. How am I going to what am I going to do differently with that person than a different person? Somebody who's my age, who doesn't like to go hard, right? I'm not going to roll the same way with the 25-year-old wrestler as I am with the 55-year-old hobbyist. He might want to go just as hard as that 25-year-old, but it ain't you, or you're not them, I should say. And it's not going to work. Something bad's going to happen either to me or to that older person down the line, because when they do go with somebody who wants to go hard or gets a little fed up with them, bad things happen.
So you're saying that the smart part could vary between people?
Yeah, I think so. We touched on this a little bit not too long ago. Yeah, I think, I think people, I firmly believe that people train differently with different people.
Yeah, they have to. They have to.
Heather talked about, how she used to, I asked her about, does she have an on-off if she's going with a white belt?
It's only on.
Yeah. If you're going with a white belt versus going with, some really high-level purple belt or up, can you change how you do things? And she said she used to not be able to. It was always 100% go, go, go. And things have changed over the years. I think, you tell me if I'm wrong, but when you're going with a white belt that's got 3 stripes and now they're dipping their toe in an open mat, are you going to go with them the exact same way you would with that guy that you just gave their brown belt to, whose skill set is completely different, whose attitude is completely different, who's working on things more conceptually maybe rather than physically? Or the white belt might not be physical at all because he's nervous. He's just getting in here. He could be completely nervous.
White belt is nervous and not physical.
I've seen him. I've seen some that were terrified, literally shaking at their first couple open mats, and then when they realized what the rules of engagement were, they've mellowed out, or they've figured it out and they're not so nervous anymore. Mm-hmm. So, do you change how you do things?
Yeah, it's not even necessarily based on a belt, but based on person.
I'm using the belt as just kind of like a marker.
Yeah, we should train differently with every person. Mm-hmm. I think from exploration perspective to just how the intensity.
Yeah.
Right. I think going with somebody who's in their 50s is going to be very different than going with somebody who's in their 20s. And I'm not saying one will be harder than the other. I'm just saying it will be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And same thing from skill set perspective. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go easy on a white belt. I'm actually probably going to be more complex with a white belt, to be honest with you, than I'm going to be with a brown belt. My range of experimenting will be by far broader on a white belt than it would be on a brown belt.
Sure. Unless maybe it's a day where you really want to test yourself.
Unless it's true. True. Good point.
So the day changes it too. Yeah.
So a lot of that, plays significant role on all of this. The intensity and how much amount of thought I put into things and what I do, how I do it, and how many rounds I go, how fast all that has a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. I think brainless rolling is stimulating physically, but we definitely not making any logical decisions during that time. We kind of reacting, and I think that is working hard. Mm-hmm. That is the harder part.
How many guys do you remember that they get their second stripe and they stop going to classes? They just start doing open mat.
Oh, well,
there's that. And every single one of those people disappears after a while. Every single one of them.
Yeah, I don't know if every one of them, but there's definitely. There's listen, it's because then pivoting into a different conversation, but there is something unquestionably desirable and something very appealing behind physical engagement in an open mat.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do think that a lot of people don't know how to use open mat. They just think that it's, hey, slap bump and let's go balls out. and some of that intelligence builds over time. And that's simply because nobody taught them. It's not as their fault.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Somebody who has, 1, 2, 3, 4 stripes on their white belt, it is not they precisely doing something intentionally wrong. Nobody taught them. Nobody told them, think, pause, slow down. Like, you learn these things as time goes on. This is why we get to blue and we are still spazzing out. We're just a little bit smarter. We get to purple and we start experimenting, but we still not the same way as the brown belt would. And we get to the brown belt, and you're seeing these progressions all throughout your journey.
Right.
And it's really not that something gets downloaded to our brain. We learn, we make adjustments, and we simply get smarter. That's all it is. Yeah. We make more intelligent decisions.
Sure.
You know what I mean? This is why the higher belts have a ability to pick up the pace, destroy you at their will, and then slow down and talk trash. Like, it's just that's what it is.
Right. Or slow down and destroy you.
Oh, they'll slow down and destroy you. Yeah. Without speeding up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's but overall, I do think that we should put some intelligence behind training in general, because you don't have to train 7 days a week.
No, and we touched a little bit about how jiu-jitsu now, you can be a professional athlete in jiu-jitsu now, right? We've kind of crossed over, right? Talking about people like Gordon Ryan and the twins, and in order to do that nowadays, what do you need? You need all those things that the other professional athletes have. The proper coaching, the proper nutrition, cross training, right? Weight training specific to you. You can't just get huge. Now you're not in your weight class anymore. Things need to be done smart in order for you to have success. And you're working hard. You're still working hard the whole time, but you're not doing it in a way that is going to degrade what you have.
Yeah, like, more I'm thinking about this, more listening to you saying everything. It's like, if I was to reword that phrase, it would be achieve the same goal with the least amount of effort.
Yeah. What's your goal on the mat? Do you want to
Well, if you want to be a world champion, then you might have to be at the academy 7 days a week, 6 hours a day. Yeah. You might have to, because that's what it takes. Mm-hmm. And that's in addition to all the other work you might do. But if you want to learn jiu-jitsu efficiently and you only can attend twice a week, we talked this a million times. It's still achievable. Yeah. But you need to, start BSing on the mat when you start focusing on drilling. Make your drilling really effective. Every minute counts. Make it useful. Don't waste time. Even though social component is an important part of jiu-jitsu, there's time for that, and there's time for drilling. When instructors teaching a technique, stop talking when you drilling the technique. Stop talking about how your day was. Start drilling. Get to it. It's really not that hard, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But it's very easy to get distracted, and I think that quote unquote hard work often sources from, 1, not having a goal, and 2, being distracted with 3 gazillion things that are flying around our mind every single day.
Yeah, and I think that also, you could even narrow that scope down to, your rounds. When you talk about being more efficient, the least amount of, for me anyway, jiu-jitsu to me is getting to that goal in the most efficient manner possible. If you're going a 7-minute round, do you want to get to that goal huffing and puffing and sweating and really exerting yourself physically? Or do you want to get to that goal, being the most effective you can be with the least amount of physical presence? Mm-hmm. To me, that's working smarter, not harder.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right, then.
Let's work harder. Let's finish this up. Let's not over talk. That would be hard work.
It would be. Actually, it's pretty easy. All right, then. See you later.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.